Welcome to Healers with Humor.
Where healing meets heart and a whole lot of vulnerability.
We're your hosts, Candice and Shelly, two healers navigating life, love, and all the messy moments in between.
Because we believe that healing isn't just about crystals and meditation. It's about embracing the chaos, learning from the challenges, and finding joy in the journey.
Each week, we'll share real stories, insightful conversations, and maybe even a few awkward truths just to help you navigate your own healing path.
And guess what? This season, we're bringing in special guests to share their wisdom and inspire even more connection.
So grab your favorite cup of coffee or tea, or just settle right in and get ready for laughs, lessons, and a whole lot of light. This is Healers with Humor. Welcome back, Bright Lights, to Healers with Humor, Season 2, Episode 7. How we help others by sharing our unique gifts. I'm Candice.
I'm Shelly.
All right, let's get started. So the episode today, the candle, again by our friend Lindsay at Soul Love, is Blossom. And I really felt like this encompassed a lot of how we came into our gifts. And so I'm just going to read the beautiful saying that she has on her website and on the cards that she provides. So in ancient civilizations, the lotus flower is revered as sacred and known for its ability to emerge untouched by the murky waters of where it grows. Metaphorically speaking, this is symbolic of our ability to move through life's adversities, where it is we ourselves who blossom and grow. Blossom intention supports in gifts of compassion, grace, expansion, and regeneration. And so, as we talk about our own unique gifts, I feel like we both had to blossom, right? We had to come through all that murky water.
Sometimes still blossoming.
There's new blossoms all the time to get where we are. And I didn't have a card for this episode, which I think is fine. And but my favorite thing is, again, a place where I learned a lot about myself and how I embraced a lot of my unique gifts was called the Empath's Workbook by Krista Carpenter. And so it's really about practical strategies for nurturing, right, your unique gifts and living in an empowered way. And so a lot of the learning that I've done about being an empath and how I bring that forward in my practice came from a lot of what she talked about in that book. But you, what's your favorite thing?
All right. So, I love to try new things. So,
Yeah.
I'm working with something called the Wave Watch currently.
Okay.
It looks like a watch. It is a device that uses sound frequencies to reset, detox, and heal the body.
Ooh.
So, I'm trying out to see how it works, and if it works. And if it works for what I'm trying to use it for. So, you can essentially use it for. I have, cold, the flu. I'm having digestive issues. I'm having throat issues, right? So things that we've talked about before.
Nice.
But it's kind of an ideal thing to try for people who want to try something other than medicine and want to use sound as one of the ways to heal. So that's what I'm playing with this week.
Beautiful. I love it. You'll have to let us know in another episode. We'll have to do a follow-up to our favorite thing. To see how you're liking it and what changes you've experienced since playing with it. So we both have gifts, right? We've come into through our processes. But talk to me or talk to the listeners about the specific gifts that you have and how you use them with clients during sessions, because right, we both have gifts that we use outside of, right, our daily client sessions, but specifically when you're working with clients, what are some of the things that make Shelly magic?
Oh, okay. So one of the things I think is, most important, and we've talked about it before in another episode, is sort of understanding your clairs and what your predominant clairs are. So my predominant clair is hearing what I need to do. So clairaudience. And you can essentially work to build the other ones. And I've really been working to increase my ability to see much more, like while I'm working on a client, to see the energy and where I need to go in their body. So I let my ears and, what I see in my, I'll say my mind, right, tag team when I'm working on someone, and looking for where to work and where to move energy. I think one of the things that I do wanna make sure that I note about, discovering your gifts.
Mhm.
I think it's a very personal thing, right? They
Yeah.
kind of come to you and in divine timing,
Mhm.
right? But how to use them or use them for someone else's is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
And to your point, right, you kinda get what I call bonus gifts along the way, right? Is
Mhm.
you get something and you're not sure exactly what to do with it, and you kind of figure it out. So one of the first gifts that I figured out was in hypnosis.
Okay.
I had done so many sessions where I was like, "Please tell me my gifts," right? And meditate. My gifts? What are they? Right? Um, and one of the first gifts that I saw in hypnosis was my soul, what I call my soul light.
Mm.
So I hold my hand to my heart and I wait until I've seen the flame ignite. And then when I feel like my hand is full, I actually touch the other person's heart or heart chakra that I'm working on.
Mhm.
And the best way to describe how that soul light works is I look at it like a dustbuster. So that light goes into the other person's body and sort of goes to all the little like nooks and crannies that are harder to clean out throughout
Mm.
the body. And then the part that's really embarrassing for me, but also fascinating for me is when I know that my soul light is done working, and what is ready to go is ready to be removed, I start humming my soul song
Mhm.
and remove and transmute the energy. And Candace, you've experienced this.
I have.
I generally say, "I'm sorry, I'll be humming now." Um, but it's actually quite beautiful because for me, my soul song came to me in a shamanic class that I did, but I really didn't know what to do with it. So when these 2 things came together, what I saw in hypnosis and how I was gonna use them, right? It was
Mhm.
something that's fascinating. And it'll be the one of the first things that explains why my practice is called Finding Your Light Healing, right? Is I use
Mhm.
my soul light.
Yes.
Um,
And it's a beautiful practice and process.
oh, thank you. And then if the gift that sort of required my body to do, I'll just say more readjusting, more work, more ability to bring light in is that I'm a transmuter.
Mhm.
So the ability to remove and move heavy energy out. Um, and so this is one of the things that I particularly help clients with.
Mhm.
And then the one that's sort of more awesome to me because, again, finding your light was something that came to me in meditation 3 years ago, is that I realized that most of the where I do work for clients is within the auric layers and particularly the 10th dimension.
Mm.
Um, and the 10th dimension is all about living your true life. So I think about bringing in light. And then again, the aura is about color and light.
Mhm.
So for me, it's quite beautiful that what came to me a couple years ago and what I should name my practice, Finding Your Light Healing.
Mhm.
And then as it's kind of unfolded right in divine timing, I have to remind myself who is not patient sometimes that right as that's unfolded and understanding where I work and how I work on somebody,
Mhm.
it's really turned out to be quite interesting
Yeah.
how I use my gifts. So now I'm really now I want to hear, how you use your particular gifts to help others, um, and what they are.
Well, I'm gonna start by saying one of the gifts that I have is something that you actually brought my attention to, which is being a transmuter.
Oh,
So I had had these experiences in session and for myself where I was like, I don't know, something came in, some energy came in. I'm not really sure what to do with it. And essentially, yeah, transmuting kind of heavier dark energies, especially when I had first moved to Charlotte. I'm sorry, moved to Santa Rosa Beach. There was a lot of energy coming in, and it was really interruptive. It was interrupting me. interrupting my sleep, it was interrupting all kinds of things. And so what I recognized is that I am a light, right, shining brightly, and that there are, probably not as many here in this area. And so, the people, the souls, the spirits that wanted to be transmuted were attracted to my light, and I had to learn how to work with that, and you were, kind enough to share with me how you do that, and we kind of worked through and created how I can use that energy and transmute, and I actually use that a lot in my practice now. So when we do energy healing sessions and we're clearing, entities and cords, it's one thing to release the energy, it's another thing to transmute it down into Mother Earth with love. So that it's not just kind of free flowing out into the universe. But you talked about clairs, and so my intuition or my clair is really just that sense of knowing. Um, and I do get a lot of that third eye intuition. So I'll have words that come in through my third eye, or I'll get messages. Once in a while, I'll hear, quote unquote, hear something, but most of the time it comes through my third eye, or just that kind of inner sense of knowing. Um, and what that does in a client session is I'm able to piece things together for people. So it's kind of like putting the puzzle together or making sense of how things are relating. So really just creating or helping people understand their emotional patterns or how things are kind of happening, um, and just making sense of their story, which just brings a lot of emotional relief and awareness. So sometimes people, and I myself have had people do this for me, right? Where you're clearing energy and you're not really putting the pieces together. Like, well, this relates to this, which relates to this. And then they're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So really being able to see the why behind the symptoms, um, whether it's emotional, spiritual, physical, my ability to put those patterns together. And it's gonna sound probably a little silly. I don't know that it's an actual gift, but my ability to just hold that really deep, compassionate, safe space for people, um, and having people be able to feel, safe being vulnerable, right?
That's definitely a gift.
It's people when they go through this energy healing, it's emotional, right? I worked with somebody just a couple days ago, and she's like, "Why am I so emotional?" I was like, "Well, if you haven't cried, I haven't done my job." So yeah, it's really just allowing people that space to do what they need to do to move through that energy. And then again, gift, I don't know, but we both do this, is walking the walk,
Aw.
right? It's me really doing my own work right beside you. So I only may be one, you know, notch or level or step or whatever you want to call it, in front of somebody else. But if I've experienced my own, healing and process of clearing something, then it just brings another level to what I can do with my clients. So just
Yeah.
that continuous, kind of leveling up, I do think is a gift. And it's also just part of my commitment to my clients, and myself.
Well, we understand the road that's been traveled, we understand how hard it is, right? And I think
Mhm.
that what we both do have is a desire to help others and
Yeah.
maybe it be a little bit easier
Yeah.
or a little bit faster or
Yes.
maybe find some shortcuts. And so I do think that, that's what really kind of circles back to wanting to be able to help others.
Absolutely. Yeah, because like we've talked about this before, neither one of us had, a clear path to this healing process, and we've both created, programs and shortcuts, if you will, to
Mhm.
being able to help people, in a quicker amount of time, right? It doesn't mean that, healing gets faster, but sometimes when we can be more laser focused and we know, right, where the energy is corralled, and we can get at that a little bit faster, it does help the journey along its way.
But yeah, if you talk to 10 people, right, we've all done it a different way, and there is
Exactly.
no exact right or wrong way to do it, right? It's how it
Nope.
how it comes to you.
Mhm.
Well, certainly, you and I'll just say, came from different, directions down different paths, almost to the same place, right? And
Yeah.
and how we, work with people. But talk to us about some of the certifications and trainings that you've done along the way and sort of melded together to provide the programs that you do,
Yeah.
and healing opportunities that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say the first thing that, I was in my corporate job, and I didn't know that I was gonna leave that job to do this energy healing when I started. But I had received so much, healing from using emotion code with the naturopath that I was working with, that I really wanted to get my certification, more so for myself, right? So that I could help myself at a deeper level. But that's really where I started. It was with the emotion code certification. That led to then wanting to do the body code certification. And that's when I left my corporate job. So once I had those two, I had a really good understanding of energy and how I was helping myself and creating, ways to be able to help others. And then the intuition piece has, come in over time. And so I really wanted to hone that. And so I definitely took classes um, in spirituality, right? In intuition, learning how to give and receive messages. And I also did become a certified Oracle card reader. That brought me through a lot of intuition based uh, guidance and just how to work with Oracle cards. Then and again, I kept feeling like I needed to level up for myself, and my clients, and so then, I became belief code certified. That was last year, as well as Akashic Records. So Akashic Records was a game changer for me, in my healing process. The information that I had received from other readers really helped me on my healing journey. And I was really passionate about becoming a reader myself, again, so that I could get into my own records, but be able to help my clients as I'm going through, right, an energy healing process. I then can see times where I'm like, hmm, there's a past life here. There's something else going on here. We need to look at this a little bit deeper. And in the moment, I can open up the records for myself and my client, and we can get really detailed information about how to heal something or more information that they need to understand about how a past life is impacting them in this life. Um, so Akashic Records is beautiful. And most recently, I've been working on my mediumship skills. So
Mm.
that's again, it's something that comes through like people's people's people will show up in my room and I'm like, who's here? What is happening? It's happened to us when we've been in session, right? Where somebody comes in and I'm like, wait, somebody's messing with us. There's an energy here that doesn't belong. And so we have to go in and I understand, what that energy is trying to do, whether it's welcome or if it's not welcome, and we pass it along its way if it's not welcome. So yeah, those are some of the things that I've worked on. Again, we always continue to work on ourselves. And I know that also received your emotion code certification. And I've done Reiki as well, but I don't use it the same way that you do. But talk to me or us about some of the things that you've done certifications in, training, classes.
Sure. So I think what is interesting, and I do think it's important for us to point out, is that so much of what we have taken, read, studied, you know, went down a rabbit hole in was trying to figure out something for ourselves. It
Mhm.
wasn't, how can I, do this as a session for a client? It was trying to figure out how do we help ourselves. And that's exactly how mine started too. The first thing that got me was I did a palm reading and a tarot card reading. And one of the things that the reader mentioned to me was, you have a protector voice that you don't bother to listen to. And I knew exactly who, I knew what voice, I knew the 2 times that I had heard this voice. And I was like, "I'm sorry, who is that?" And she told me it was my protector guide.
Mhm.
And frankly, that's what kicked off, the whole thing. There
Okay.
were classes, intuitive classes, how to meet your 5 main guides, and I
Mhm.
started going to these classes to figure out who is my protector guide.
Mm.
And I loved it so much that I stayed in classes for 2 years. And so that really got me interested in, how to connect, how to protect, how to clear, and
Mhm.
how to receive messages both for myself and for others, which really rolled beautifully into, I didn't understand what Reiki and energy healing was.
Mhm.
So I took the first class and then I took one. Why not take the second class? Well, I've already taken two. Why not take the third class? Right. And so that's how I ended up with my Reiki master 3 years ago. And then as I've continued to look for, how do I work on myself? How do I understand, I'll just say, the different tools that I have, right? The aura, meridians,
Mhm.
chakras. Then I also did things like get certified as a medical intuitive.
Mhm.
You mentioned emotion code. So that was one of the things that I kind of dove into. But then I also did things like getting trained on house cleansing and clearings, which is one of my favorite things to
Yeah.
do. There's nothing better than getting into someone's home and really understanding how to bring it back into peace and
Mm.
really be the home that they want it to be and have the energy that they want it to have.
Mhm.
And I also did things like Bach flower remedies and Utah tea oils. So, for me, I went on a trip to Sedona, Arizona, did a session with a lady, and I was hooked.
Yeah.
So before I even left, I was like, "All right, do you train?" And she was like, "Yeah." So that's been one thing that's really beautiful to bring, to share with other healers or people that have really took a deep dive into their, own healing, is Utachi oils, right? They are not for the average user, they're not like essential oils, but I'm
Yes.
always in the fact that we're always learning, reading, absorbing, trying to figure out how do we work through, what we're experiencing. I think that, it's clear that both of us have gone down the path that we have because of that, more so than just trying to, "How many things can I get certified in?"
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Which is a lot, which
Yeah.
is a lot.
But we are
Yeah, so
classic overachievers. So like you said, "Oh, I have 1. Why don't I get 2? I have 2. Why don't I do 3?"
yeah, well, it's a lot of curiosity too,
Yeah.
right? Understanding how something works. You see someone do something, you think that's something that you'd like to understand and be able to do for yourself. So we both really
Mhm.
like the how do I help myself too, piece.
Yes.
Well, I know that you've been able to turn the classes and certifications that you've taken, along with your gifts, into particular programs, that really reach out to certain, I'll say, audiences or things to work on.
Yeah.
Can you share some of those with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have 3 programs. So I do one-on-one sessions. And typically that's to get to know someone, right? And understand kind of what they have going on. And then try to see how is it that, my goal is always how do I help you in the best way that I'm able to. That's really what I'm looking for when I have a client. So my 3 programs are Open Your Heart, which is all around the heart chakra, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more in depth, and then the other 2 is healing your chakras, and understanding that chakra energy, and then the Empowered Empath. That's my big program. That's a 12-week program, that Shelly has been through. And
It was
that's really
fantastic.
thank you. That's really the culmination, right, of everything. And that we talked about in season 1, I think episode 8. But the Open Your Heart program is really a gentle way to enter into the energy healing process. Um, it's a heart wall is essentially a wall that our subconscious, is just packing away these emotions that we don't wanna feel into the back of our heart, and then eventually a wall is built, The wall can be made of anything, right? It could be made of chocolate, stainless steel, redwood. It's kind of fun to
Mhm.
figure out what it's made of and understand that a little bit. But, we create, or these blocks are created, and they really prevent us, right, from trusting and our own self-love. And a lot of our past pain is what's really kind of packed away in that heart wall. But our subconscious, again, just trying to keep us safe, trying to keep us from feeling those hurt feelings, the grief, the abandonment, whatever it is. And I know because I've lived it, right? I've worked on my heart wall. I've had that cleared. I continue to work on it. It's actually something that can grow back
Oh,
as you go through time. But this is a program that I really guide people through. One of my favorite pieces about this program is the generational healing.
oh.
So as part of our heart wall, we can have inherited emotions, and those come from our parents, who sometimes it starts with them, sometimes it's, generations back. I mean, I've worked on, people who have had things that are, 20 generations back. And when we think about what we're working on, right? We're working on emotions. Every emotion has a vibration. And when we've inherited these emotional vibrations, we're born with them, right? So even before we do anything in life, we already have these frequencies or these vibrations that are in our bodies. And if we think about the law of attraction and like attracts like, if we are born with these inherited, emotions of abandonment or worthless, um, that's what we're gonna attract throughout our life, right? So the more work that we can do on ourselves, um, we're helping not only the generations behind us, but the future generations, right? So the work that you're doing, Shelly, right, when we've cleared generational things, right, they're helping your niece and your nephew.
Uh-huh.
Right, and they're gonna help their kids. It's just beautiful. It makes me smile. We're also clearing it for the past generations, right? Because they didn't have the tools. They didn't have the ability to that we have now to clear the energy in the way that we do. So it's just a beautiful process, and as part of clearing that heart wall, we come into our own self-love. We come into our own self-worth. And that's really for me the beginning of the energy work. And we do a lot of I do emotion code when we work with the heart wall. But I also work with body code, and I don't know that a lot of other healers do that. In my sessions, really any of the tools that I have are going to come through. You don't just get one of the modalities. We do a lot of inner child work when we work on the heart wall, and we also take a lot of power back. So when we go through life, we kind of unconsciously give away our power. And some of that has to do with that heart chakra. And so intuitively, I'll get hits on, oh, we need to take power back from a certain age. And that's incredibly powerful. So yeah, I've brought a lot of, what I've learned, and in the Empowered Empath program, just quickly codependency, boundaries, people pleasing, right? All the things that I had to do a really big deep dive on to understand my own process, bringing that into, right, the work that I do on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think the important thing to note, and it's true for both of us, right, is that the things that we end up working on for other people are things that have been so near and dear to ourselves and our own healing, right?
Yeah.
It's what makes you a good reference point, right? You understand it's why you have the compassion, it's why you have
Mhm.
the patience, and it's why we have the desire to help those particular people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that you also have some programs, and one of them is fairly new. So talk to us about how you're bringing all of your modalities together into a program to help folks.
Sure. So for the last couple years, I've been doing one-on-one sessions, much like you have, with a little bit different focus. So I work on people, and certainly, as I've learned different modalities, incorporated different pieces so that it's not just a Reiki session. It's really whatever your body needs
Yeah.
session. But because of those classes that and certifications that I've had, Reiki, emotion code, medical intuitive, they all really encourage working on animals as well. And so I also offer one-on-one sessions for pets.
Nice.
And then homes really took if you think about working on the people and the pets, for me, working on their home is another big piece of that, right? It's where everyone lives, it's where they
Mhm.
spend their time, it's where they sleep, right? And their bodies are most open to energy. And so really doing, healing sessions for people, pets, and where they live.
Yep.
And while I've been taking different classes, I had this basket that I would if I read something, heard something, someone else did something for me in a session that was unique, I
Mhm.
would write it on a card and sort of pop it into a basket, and so there was a lot of things in this basket, and finally I heard it was time to pull out the basket and really put something together that was, multi-session, so it ends up being 4 sessions called Heal from Within,
Mhm.
but really pulling all the different modalities together, the books, the videos, everything out of this basket and saying, "How do I move more energy intentionally?"
Mhm.
And so using, energy healing, the medical intuitive training, and using that over the course of 4 sessions to really focus on trauma, abuse, chronic illness, and diagnosis, and autoimmune disorders, which is pretty interesting because a lot of it does talk directly to, my past and what I've
Mhm.
experienced and what I've worked to heal from.
Yeah.
And then so the 4 sessions really goes through the chakras, the aura, the meridian, the body processes and systems, past lives, parents and ancestors, and includes karmic patterns.
Mhm.
So anything that's contributing to that particular health or physical issue that someone is dealing with. So that you really kind of focus and hone in on those 4 sessions to say, I've been diagnosed with such and such autoimmune disease.
Mhm.
Let's talk about all the contributing factors and really work to clear as much energy that's not solely due to the physical, what we can't do anything about portion, right? But
Mhm.
work to remove as much pain and energy as possible. And so that's something that I introduced this year. And then the other way in which I'm trying to help others heal is I published the book, Finding
Mm.
Your Light, The Six Healing Paths, as a resource for people, frankly, who are too tired to heal, right?
Yeah.
Because I've been there.
Mhm.
It's kind of, we get tired. It's how I started, right? I started exhausted. But it gives you easy, small steps that help you promote healing of the mind, body, and spirit using things like nature, self love, community, health, intuition, and your purpose to sort of get the body to reprogram and to get the person to really connect with themselves and the world around them.
Yeah.
We've talked about the book in episode 9. You can also find more information on my website. But it's a resource to help people who really aren't ready to come into a healing session yet.
Mhm.
But it gives small, easy, possible steps when honestly life just feels too tough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I can attest to the autoimmune situation. So I know, it was probably coming up on 2 years that we had done a session, and we were just chatting after, and we were talking about, different things, and I think I had mentioned, the Epstein Barr virus, and you were talking about SIBO. So we were
Oh.
sharing autoimmune disease issues. And, we started talking, and I was like, "Did you know that you can talk to a virus?" And you were like, "I'm sorry, what?" And I was like, "Yeah, we can ask the virus, different things and why it's there." And, that kinda spurred us both into, doing a little bit more of a deep dive, and essentially, right, you were able to understand more about your SIBO, we were able to understand more about my Epstein-Barr virus, and I know when I got mono, right, which is the Epstein-Barr virus, and, um, but understanding when it came in for the first time and then what actually activated it, right? Those two pieces.
Oh,
And the work that we did together, my work and your work, we've been able to clear those things for ourselves, for each other, which I think is just more beautiful than anything else because those are huge impacts on your physical body and your life. I mean, they were preventing you from eating all the beautiful things you wanted to eat. And
yeah, that
it,
was hard.
yeah,
Yeah, 7 years that I had been without those foods.
yeah. And that's insane, right? And for me with the Epstein Barr virus, it was dysregulating my nervous system, right? And it's, the virus is held in certain organs. And for me, the organ that it was being held in was impacting my nervous system and how I dealt with things. And it would flare up and it just wasn't a lot of fun to deal with. So yeah, the again, it's the processes that we've been through, in creating these programs to kind of streamline, right, for others, what we've done for ourselves. So that's a beautiful 4-session package. I didn't mention, but my Open Your Heart is 5 sessions. Um, and yeah, we bring all of the things that we've learned together and, the hopes that it's gonna help others move forward, um, through their healing process.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that I just wanna make sure to notice, right, is, that both of us offer free consultations to
Yes.
talk to us about, are these right for you? Will these help with the issue that you have going on? And so, the important part is, right, is we're trying to make healing accessible.
Yes.
We're trying to make it feel like you have support, right, by doing the podcast, right, by
Mhm.
doing, programs and really trying to let people know, right, healing is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, and, we're both on Facebook. We have our businesses, Indiglow Soul and Finding Your Light, are on Facebook. We share a lot of information there. I think I know that I've created some, other, collateral material around the chakra program and around Open Your Heart, with some, journal prompts and guides and different things that people have access to, um, meditations, right? So, yeah, we're trying to get the healing out to as many people as we possibly can, and we encourage you to, do a consultation, right? See if these things make sense for you, and both of us are gonna be honest, right? We're not gonna tell you if we don't think we can help you. We're gonna find who we think can. We have lots of friends in the industry, and, I've referred people to Shelly where I've done a couple sessions, and I'm like, "I don't think I can help you anymore. I think you need to see Shelly." And I know you have one client that you've been working on for, I don't know, it could be almost a year now,
Mhm.
um, and doing really deep, important work, with that medical intuitive, in the aura and, all of the other, modalities that you have that's really making an impact on them. So, yeah, we'll definitely point you in the right direction. All right, well, I think I've had enough about talking about myself, my throat chakras. I think it is something to note, right? This is not something that, I'm not gonna say comes easily for us, but we both are not typically sitting around boasting about what we do and how we do it. But we really felt like it was important to share what it is that we do, right? So that if people don't know what we're doing, we can't help them, right?
Yeah, get to know us 2.0, right?
Exactly, exactly. So, thank you for listening. We appreciate all of you. Send us your questions, book your discovery calls, your consultations, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Healers with Humor.
We hope that you found some laughs, a little light, and maybe even a few aha moments along the way today.
Remember, healing's a journey, not a destination, and you don't have to go it alone.
If today's episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend who could use a little healing and humor in their life.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, leave us a review, and follow us on YouTube and any social media to stay connected with us.
Because we're definitely going to be sharing more wisdom, more laughs, and probably a little more oversharing next time.
Oh, you know it. Until then, take care of yourself embrace the journey, and don't forget to laugh a little along the way.
All right, so see you next time on Healers with Humor.